As we now know, the Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. And I, for one, so glad for my hometown team. And as a lifelong diehard Seahawks fan, I enjoyed the win. I enjoyed the game immensely. But as we approached the big game, the dominant narrative was basically this. If you watch Bad Bunny at the halftime show, well, you hate America. And if you watch Turning Point USA's alternative halftime show, well, you're one of those misogynistic, xenophobic, racist, far right-winger extremist, all that kind of stuff. And just like that, a 13-minute performance became a political sorting hat. And here's the thing. This is not just a media problem, although it stems a lot from media narratives, but that is us. We do accept those narratives, don't we? We are increasingly trained to see each other almost exclusively through a political lens anymore. Like politics is the master key that explains your intelligence, your compassion, sense of justice, even your character. Not how you treat people, not whether you keep your word, not whether you're a person of integrity, but whether or not you chose their preferred halftime show. Now, early reports projected the official Apple Music Super Bowl 60 halftime show featuring Bad Bunny at 135 million plus viewers, a massive national audience. And Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show streamed online. It reportedly hit about 6.1 million concurrent viewers at its peak, and then stacked up millions of views, of course, after that. So, yes, one was certainly the main event. The other was the alternative. The bigger story isn't who won the ratings war. I think the bigger story is that we're now actively building, and we're seeing it in real time, parallel Americas. Parallel media, parallel entertainment, parallel shared moments. Because shared moments require shared space, and shared space requires basic goodwill, and we are bleeding goodwill. We used to have a water cooler culture, so to speak, right? Monday mornings, we'd come in, we'd say, did you see that commercial? Or did you see the episode last night? Or did you see that halftime show? Maybe you loved it, maybe you hated it, but you could talk about it without assuming the person across from you was the worst villain ever to walk the face of the earth. But now, we don't even see each other as fully human until we've checked their politics first. And heaven forbid we have a friend with whom we disagree, because then we're tempted to turn that friendship into a conversion project, sending them messages, hey, if you just read these 10 articles, you'll finally see the light. That's not friendship, that's recruitment. Now, from a Christian perspective, it's also a warning sign. Scripture tells us, if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Romans 12:18. And all means all. Those who agree with you, those who don't. Those who believe the same things with you, those who don't. It tells us that our words should build up, not tear down. That's Ephesians 4:29. And it tells us that peacemakers matter to God, that they are blessed. Matthew 5:9. Now, that doesn't mean that we pretend that truth doesn't exist. But it does mean that we don't treat people like disposable NPCs in our ideological video game. Now, on balance, I do want to say this. The rise of alternative shows can be a good thing. I mean, this is a free country, or at least what's left of one, right? And it's not automatically bad for people to create different programming and different events and different streams. In fact, there's something very American about that. Entrepreneurial, it's competitive, it's creative. But context matters. And the context here is we're not creating alternatives because we're just spoiled for choices. We're creating alternatives because we don't want to share the room anymore. We're putting culture behind political firewalls, and the password is whether or not your worldview is acceptable. And then comes the whole representation game. If my view is represented, then it must be to the exclusion of yours. And not only that, but everyone needs to agree with my representation, and that is a net positive, or else you're a horrible monster. That's not freedom. That's domination with better PR. To be clear, I'm not even talking about, on this particular segment, which show is better. I'm not having that argument today, although I may get to that in a future address. I'm not grading the choreography of the show. I'm not handing out holiness points. I'm not looking at patriotic points. I'm just looking at something very basic, I think, that's at least a universal concept, regardless of belief, regardless of political affiliation. America is in danger of losing one of the things that made us so strong in the first place, and that is the shared experience. It is possible to disagree and still be fellow countrymen, still be Americans. But when we can't even share a halftime show without treating it like a loyalty litmus test, I would say that we're heading somewhere pretty dark. And you see this fracturing everywhere, not just in sports. Families split over elections and political affiliation. Friend groups quietly purge dissenters. People choose where to live, based on politics. We increasingly treat disagreement like it's some kind of plague or contamination. Even the data around polarization points in that direction. Gallup has shown Republicans and Democrats are sorting into more ideologically, quote unquote, pure camps, and this is happening at record levels. Pew polls have tracked how partisan hostility has grown and how political identity is increasingly shaping how people view the other side. Reuters and Ipsos polling also highlighted widespread concern that polarization is worsening and that political conflict is corroding and eroding trust. So, as we woke up this morning, the day after the Super Bowl, what happened? Well, the left ran its typical hit pieces. The right ran its own circular firing squad, shaming each other for which halftime experience they chose and questioning each other's loyalty. And that's the part that grieves me. We're dividing up the house. We're dividing up the stuff, dividing up the soundtrack, dividing up the jokes. And where there's no reconciliation, division doesn't just stabilize, it escalates. It moves toward separation and ultimately toward divorce. Now, speaking as a Christian, that's why reconciliation, I believe, is much more than just a sentimental buzzword. It's a mission. God gave believers, the ministry of reconciliation, 2 Corinthians 5:18. Now, contextually speaking in Scripture, it's talking about being reconciled to Jesus Christ. But again, the principle of reconciliation can apply from person to person in so much as living peaceably with one another can depend on us. We don't reconcile with each other by surrendering our convictions and compromising, but we reconcile by refusing to treat people who are also made in God's image as enemies. Because it seems now, almost from jump, our baseline assumption of people is that they are an enemy to begin with. Now, again, to be sure, there are clearly evil people in this world. There are jerks, and there are people who do hate others with a capital H in this world, but chances are it's not the person sitting next to you at the ballgame. And chances are it's not even the person you're arguing with on social media. Now, back to the halftime show. My family and I, we didn't watch either show live. I watched the clips later so I could talk about it intelligently here. But in the moment, we just watched a couple of Jimmy Fallon bits and a couple of magician clips because we just wanted to be entertained. We wanted to enjoy entertainment together without wading through the muck and the mire of political filth. It's ironic. We've been told for decades to keep religion out of everything. Meanwhile, over the same decades, politics has increasingly become a religion. And as it has, we're injecting politics into absolutely everything. And it's proven not to bring us together, not to show us that diversity is our strength, but it's proven just to make more and more dividing lines, increasingly narrowing political islands on which we are all supposed to choose which side we're on, and then we get told who we're supposed to hate. Well, here's my question for you. Do you think America is breaking up into rival tribes that can't share anything anymore? Have we completely lost the shared experience? Do you think reconciliation is possible? I mean, social, cultural reconciliation, not agreement, not consensus, but just a reconciliation that, yes, we're Americans and it's okay if you don't see things my way. Now, if reconciliation is possible, what does that look like in real life? What does it look like in your friendships, your church, maybe your family, your workplace? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. We do love to hear your thoughts about our thoughts. And hey, again, let's at least try, show basic respect to one another on the page. I know these are hot button topics. I know we're coming in hot, but let's try to be cool with each other. Thanks for watching.